Guarantee you're going to think I'm crazy right now because I created this whiteboard and look at all the stuff on this whiteboard. Okay, look at all this paperwork. I did a 45-minute video talking about all the things we aren't taught about in history, all the things kept away from us. And that is super important to understand. Rundown of what I talked about, okay? The full nature of slavery, what we are taught, chattel slavery, what we are not taught are the roots to slavery, mental slavery, to physical slavery. How do we abolish it? Moral suasion, that's what the abolitionists told us. Now, we need to understand this is not the Civil War. It's not about African slavery. This is a worldwide phenomenon, beginning of civilization, essentially, thousands of years. There were abolitionists before the 19th century in America, okay? And that chattel slavery is just one form of slavery, and that slavery actually still exists in full vigor, if not worse than before. So we have 4 staggering statistics, okay? The 19th century American abolitionists and other historic writers, some of the leading in the world, say that chattel slavery is just one form, but the root cause is actually known as political slavery. If it wasn't for government, we would not have chattel slavery en masse. I know that sounds really crazy. We look into these folks, Lysander Spooner, Adem Ballou, William Lloyd Garrison, a leading abolitionist who says, I don't owe allegiance to any government, right? Making statements like, our country is the world, our country is all mankind. How many people uphold that today? There's so much division going on, right? 19th century American abolitionists were the first anarchists, and they denied political action. They did not vote. They said you have to stay out of changing the laws and changing the politicians if we want to end chattel slavery, right? Because again, political slavery, the state, is connected to chattel slavery. It's the root, okay? So, you know, we hear about Proudhon and Stirner if you study anarchism, but actually it's the American abolitionists. They were the first anarchists. And if you go back, it's the ancient Chinese through Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching, the second most translated work in the world after the Christian Bible. It's Etienne de la Boétie in 1577, right? Am I not a brother and a man? Am I not a woman and a sister, right? Am I not equal as well myself, right? I'm in this outfit. Does it matter, right? I don't have more rights than you. I am equal to you. And don't I deserve to live my life in peace as long as I'm not hurting anybody else? Well, according to what's written on a piece of paper, we can change our ultimorality, right? Through what we call law in government. See, pro-slavery advocates even said that government is slavery. I have tons of quotes in all this mix of papers here, but look at the justifications they use. Slavery is natural. Slavery has always existed. Well, it's the same excuses people use today. Government is natural. Government has always existed. Every society has government. People use the same exact excuses, not realizing they're actually the same thing, which is why the pro-slavery advocates were actually promoting it. So not a coincidence here that the abolitionists were the first anarchists and the pro-slavery advocates were the most pro-government, right? Fourth note on this is the history of all government goes back to Samaria, which is also the first form of slavery known historically to date. That's around 4000 BC, by the way, after 300,000 years of human civilization beforehand. And only recently, only 300 years ago, did we end the monarchy in America. Not even 200 years ago did we abolish chattel slavery. Not even 100 years ago was World War II and understanding we're all equal. So we have a lot of progress to make. It is not over, right? We have the boss who says, go, go, go. And then the real leader who says, I'm going to do it with you. And it's voluntary. It's inspirational. This is true leadership. But we live in a world where somebody is given the position of authority. We must do what we are told, right? But you know what happens? It leads to the top cause of unnatural death known as democide. He studied it, right? It shows that government is essentially one of the leading causes of death, but yet we're told it's for protection and order. Meanwhile, non-government murderers and crimes are far less. Look at Michael Huemer's work, right? And then, of course, Dr. Stanley Milgram proves this, and his studies are banned worldwide, but they all show essentially the same 90% obedience rate, that the average person was willing to do what they're told, even if it goes against their own morality. Now, we have to be concerned because there's also other forms of slavery, right? In the economy, I mean, you're not allowed to consume raw milk. In Florida, it's illegal, right? Considered a freedom state. And in most states in America, it's illegal to consume something that's been consumed for thousands of years, even prescribed by one of the leading, Western, medicine philosophers, Hippocrates. And the American Postal Service, well, guess what? We only have the U.S. Postal Service because Lysander Spooner created this, and he was a lawyer, and yet the government didn't want competition, so they shut him down, right? There's taxation where you're forced to pay against your will using, this is money from your own labor that you have no choice but to pay. Regulation, incentives, tariffs. How is anybody supposed to have a small business nowadays, right? The government is also the source of cartels and monopolies. The government itself is considered a monopoly on violence. Even Elon Musk said that himself. So we have that problem. And then, of course, in many countries, you're required to go into the draft, which is the route to conquest, which is the route to slavery. And if your money's being stolen from you, they can use that money to fund the military and then use the military to take more money from you. So it's just a feedback loop of your perpetual enslavement. And then even better, they can control you medically and technologically. They can get into your brain using the Internet of Bio-Nano things, put AI into your brain. They can control your actions directly, your mindset and everything. But if we understand this, statism, all of this can go away. We can actually evolve. We can have moral suasion, which is understanding we should never disobey our own conscience, always do what we know to be right, never just do something because we're told to do so. Statism specifically is the belief in human authority, that somebody has the right to rule, that somebody can be exempt from everyday basic morality. So this is very basic, but people do not want to confront this. And despite all this information, right, that I have for people, and writing a book with hundreds of pages and quotes and breaking down freedom concepts from the principles to the history, to the abolitionist, all the hidden material, people will not want to confront the fact that they themselves are creating the evil in the world, that they can't change the leader, they can't change the laws, they have to educate their fellow man, they have to be moral, they cannot just be obedient. In fact, if you are going to be obedient, you do it voluntary, but you don't coerce other people. You don't mess with other people's lives. Very simple, right? That's why the Taoists were talking about it as monks, peaceful. That's not an anarchist. Does this look like an anarchist to you? Well, guess what? He is. It's an orchestra leader and an inventor, but you never learn about that because the governments don't want you to learn about that. They want you to be enslaved. And no longer, we need to evolve as a human species. So do it with me. If you want the full rundown of this entire whiteboard, I have a 45-minute video that you can check out. Thank you.